Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Nintendo Review Podcast. I'm Darren Bolton, and as always I am joined by Lee and Greg, or Sexy Greg today. You're not feeling too well, mate?
You can probably tell by my voice, got a wee bit of a cold, but the international break's almost over and we're going to get some decent football at the weekend, so feeling positive about that.
That's it, just that. Our teams are playing each other, Greg. You are Mr. Negative, so I presume you think Spurs will win.
Absolutely not.
Is Ian Rush still playing for Liverpool? I think he was last time I looked.
I think he'll be on the bench. They need an Ian Rush, but that's fine. I'm actually going to be there. I was there last year when we battered you 4-1, and I'm hoping to be there when we batter you 4-1 on Saturday. But this is not a football podcast. Lee really doesn't care about this, yeah, so Lee, bring us back down to earth. How is life in Taiwan and the refuse collections?
They're good. I was actually going to talk about traffic lights today. You know, when you're crossing the road, they got a little red man and a green man to tell you, hey, you can't walk, hey, you can walk. Well, in Taiwan, and I'm going to have to put it on Twitter somehow with a GIF, is that the green man is actually animated. And he has this kind of little swagger across the road, you know? So we got animated green men telling you with a countdown, they got seconds underneath, 25 seconds, 24 seconds, how fast you've got to get across that road before the cars start again. And boy, when the cars start, do they start. Anyway.
But do they not go before? Are they pretty good? Because here we have the countdown, and cyclists in particular just don't give a. They're just going to go anyway. So.
They opposite you. They don't go until it's green, but they don't stop when it's red. It's a challenge to make them stop at the red light.
They need animated red men. That's why.
Quite true.
That's what it is. But awesome. That's great. Let's get straight into the news. So, we thought that we'd be talking about a Nintendo Direct that happened. But Japan got hit with some bad stuff. They had a typhoon and then they had an earthquake. And Nintendo made the decision to pull the Direct. We haven't got that to talk about, but it's kind of rightly so. There are rumours actually that there's something in the Direct which made it doubly worse. Obviously, you know, so something involving an earthquake or a disaster Day Crisis 2 maybe or something like that. Who knows? But we didn't get it. But then, predictably, then what's happened is since then, lots of stuff has been revealed. Obviously, third parties maybe didn't want to wait. Stuff has been leaked. We don't know if this was definitely going to be in the Direct, all the stuff, but either way, we've had some new news, so that's what we're going to have a chat about today. And the first one was a Nintendo error on their website. I don't know if you've ever been on it, but if you buy something, underneath they have, you know, other things that are linked to that item. And there was the reveal of Yoshi's new name. So this isn't a leak. This is Nintendo just pressing the button too early, maybe because the Direct didn't happen. But the game of Yoshi is called Yoshi's Crafted World, and so that's pretty much says that we're gonna talk about Yoshi in this Direct. But how do you feel? I actually got no idea. Do you guys like Yoshi games? And either way, what do you think about Crafted World? What does it mean?
I don't like the baby Yoshi games, you know, the Yoshi's Island and all that, and I know maybe that's sacrilege against Nintendo, but I can't, and I don't like it. Infuriates me, the mechanic of losing Mario and then having to get Mario and go back, and that kind of thing really annoys me. But the Yoshi game like Woolly's World, and I only played the demo, loved it. So this one I'm really looking forward to, and you can understand where it gets its name from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Greg, are you a Yoshi fan?
You know what? I'm actually really similar to Lee there. Yoshi's Island games, I'm not that keen on them. I think I've played the Game Boy Advance port of the original SNES one like maybe 2 or 3 times through now, and it still hasn't really worked for me.
Have you not played the SNES one?
No, it is on the SNES Mini, but I haven't got round to trying it yet.
Okay, and you're shaking your head as well, Lee. What I will say, because I was very surprised that you both said that, because you haven't played the SNES version, I completely understand where you're coming from. All I would say is play the SNES one, and I would be very surprised if you don't think that is great. I know the GBA's remade it, but it's awful. Well, it's not awful, but it's no way near as good as the SNES one. So if you can give it another shout, because the first one is amazing, and I agree with the ones that followed it. But sorry, carry on, Greg.
I was just to say, like, I don't know if the SNES one would be different enough to to make me change my mind. But I like Yoshi's Woolly World is probably my favourite Yoshi game. I think it's fantastic. Was almost tempted to get it on the 3DS actually, but the way I like to play it on the Wii U was like with the tilt controls, you know, for aiming. and they had a demo on the 3DS version, and the tilt wasn't sensitive enough, so I didn't really want to play it that way, so I just forgot about that. But
That's
my wife does like crochet and craft and stuff, so like this is right up her street as well, so hopefully there's more like co-op in it.
Or maybe a level designer where she can craft the levels. Crafted also hints at, hopefully, some sort of level design.
Yeah.
Or Labo integration.
Ooh, maybe.
You build the levels with cardboard, and that's how you make them.
That would be a good idea, yeah.
That'd be I think it's pretty much certain that is kind of going to be at least an aspect of it. But I've got a feeling it's going to be a full-on Labo game, as in it's only a Labo game. Maybe not. Maybe that'd be a bit too bold. But I've got a feeling. I have got a sneaky feeling.
Yeah, because like it is a wee bit of a surprise that we haven't seen it in so long. So it's quite possible that they've sort of changed the dynamics of it a wee bit. Really have gone full Labo.
Yeah, but if you remember, the style of it was sort of cardboard and things like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
It was, but it was all about like flipping around to the other side and stuff. And
Yeah.
Paper
I think
Mario
that was part
style.
of I think that was part of the original title as well, like Flipping World or something. And
But who's to say that because it's got emotions, you put the level down, who's to say you can't twist the actual cardboard level that you create, just flip it around or something like that, or... Because it's got motion in the Joy-Con, hasn't it? If you put the Joy-Con in with the camera, it knows which level you've created because of all the bits and pieces. Then you can actually spin the level as you want, and then the level on the screen moves around as well. I don't know. Very excited as a Labo fan. And the vehicle kit's coming out on Friday.
Yeah, my house is just going to have cardboard everywhere.
Are you getting that one?
I'm really, really deeply considering that one, yes, definitely. That is the one that's made me want to buy Labo.
Yeah, it's winging its way. I had a notification from Nintendo this morning, and I was like, oh yeah, didn't realise it was this week, so that'd be good.
I didn't realize either. It's not even on my radar. Like, so enjoy it, boys.
I'll report back next week on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on. More games have been announced. This next one I am very excited about, and I think this is a bigger deal than it's getting credit for. So 2K Games have announced that Civ 6 is launching on Switch in November the 16th. And it's going to include... Obviously, it's going to be the kind of updated version because it's been patched a lot on the PC. But it's going to include all the DLC bundled in as well. This is, in essence, a console exclusive unless it does get announced for the other ones. And it's obviously perfect for Switch. I think this is incredible. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played any of the Civ games, or if you like strategy games, or if this appeals to you. Lee, I imagine this is in your wheelhouse, or am I wrong?
It is in my wheelhouse. I used to play the PC version of the original Civilization game, and I haven't really touched it because it's never been on a console. There was the SNES version, if that's right, and then it hasn't touched the Nintendo console ever since. So I haven't touched Civilization, but I'd be well up for a bit of strategy gaming if it's as good as they say it is.
Yeah, which it is. I've not played it. I know my mate who was trying to get me to get it and play, because obviously it's got online. I don't think it's got online on the Switch version, which is a bit frustrating. And he was saying it is absolutely incredible. But I like you, I've not played one for a while, but I love strategy games, and I love, I'm well up for this. What about you, Greg? I'm guessing this is not in your interests.
That's a pretty good guess. Like PC gaming in general has just been of no interest to me, like ever since I was wee. Pikmin's probably about the height of my strategy gaming, but I do remember my friend having the original Age of Empires on PC back at the time, and like it sort of stuck with me a wee bit. Like I have sort of like nostalgic feelings for it, even though I never really played it myself. But I never played a Civilization game.
Could you be tempted by it?
I don't think so.
No, okay, fair enough.
and that news of there's no online, Darren, that soured it a little bit now for me.
Yeah, I mean, well, they haven't. The thing is, has this game actually been announced, or was it sort of like leaked? I'm not. Has it been officially announced?
No, 2K Games last. I can't remember if it was Friday or this Monday. No, it was being officially announced for Switch on November 16th. Yes.
Okay, well, I do remember reading it. It was saying that it has local play, but obviously not online, which is a shame. But I mean, ultimately, it is primarily a sort of a single player experience.
Yeah.
But I say that, but I actually don't know that much, enough about it to kind of call that. It is a shame. In all honesty, it doesn't put me off. I'm still really excited about it. So as long as it's a good port. I mean, you combine that, and obviously we weren't going to chat about this, but Roller Coaster Tycoon has also gone gold, and that's ready. I'm very excited about that. Surely that appeals to you, Greg. Surely you played some theme park or something like that.
It really doesn't.
Okay, moving on. Forget that. How about this next one? Crystal Chronicles is coming back. A game I never thought I'd see again. It's one of those games where I wanted to be able to play it to its full potential of everyone having it. I just never managed to do it. I mean, I played it, but it's not the same. But this now gives us that opportunity. Big surprise! Crystal Chronicles is coming to the Switch for next year. Have any of you guys played it on the GameCube?
I have the GameCube one. And kind of like you sort of want everybody. You kind of want 4 of yous around, like all with your Game Boy Advances hooked up. It wasn't really a realistic prospect back then. It's definitely not a realistic prospect now. So I've only played like the single player portion maybe for about an hour in the past, and that was years ago. And I've kind of always been meaning to go back to it. The Switch version kind of makes that possible now, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously online means that we can actually get 4 of us together and play through it.
Yeah, well up for this. I didn't play it on the GameCube when it came out, but the DS... Was it the DS version?
Yeah.
Yes, I did play the DS version, and like Greg as well, played it for a very limited time. It is a game that you need to share with other people, and playing through as a single experience was something that I lost interest in pretty quickly.
You're talking about the DS one. There's a couple on DS, and the first one I think it was called Ring of Fates, and I actually did get quite far into that. I don't even know if I still have it. I think I had Echoes of Time as well, and I'd never really touched it.
Can you hear that in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there an evacuation in Taiwan?
we do have sirens now and again saying, hey, this is practice just in case China attack.
Really?
Yeah, every couple of months we have air raid sirens, and everybody has to clear the streets for about an hour. Then they give the all clear. So, yeah, we tensions do flare between Taiwan and China sound off about sending some missiles over now and again, and not the particularly safest of places, but that is...
Living on the edge.
Yeah, danger zone. But that's just a local announcement saying they got speakers all around the whole areas, everywhere throughout Taiwan. All the communities have speakers, and the local government building, which is a couple of meters away from the entrance to my place, he's now giving an information announcement about something that's happening tomorrow. There's a big...
The Direct. Is he telling us about the Direct?
That's right. He's telling us when he's coming out. It's Shibata.
Okay. Also, how terrifying, but I guess you get used to it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I can't remember where, but we'll move on to the next game anyway. So, another game, and this is quite a big deal to an extent, but maybe not quite as big as a deal as it could have been. This would have definitely been featured in the Direct. It still will be, maybe even available now, straight after Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. HD is definitely coming to the Switch, and it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to be able to download it tomorrow night after the Direct, but we'll see on that one. So, Greg, you're not an RPG guy. I'm presuming this doesn't appeal to you either.
Not really 15. I wouldn't have thought. If we were going to get Final Fantasy on the Switch in some form, I'd kind of prefer maybe like a wee remaster of one of the PS1 games. Like 9 always kind of looked like the most appealing to me, so possibly it. But I've never played Final Fantasy 15. And I haven't even seen what the Pocket Edition of 15 looks like, so honestly no idea.
Same here. It looks kind of cute, and people are going, they've chibified it, and it looks... No, I think it looks quite nice, the kind of styling of it. Of course, is better to have the full-blown version, but if this is coming, I've never been into Final Fantasy either. Not even when it was on the SNES. This is off my radar, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I think it looks quite nice as well. Yeah. I don't quite understand the hate for it. And a little bit of me, it suits my sensibilities a little bit more than the main version of it, to be honest. This sort of like kind of cutesy anime sort of version of it all. Doesn't appeal to me at all. I think it's great that it's here, and I hope it does really well. But Greg, I don't think you're going to have to wait that much longer for your Final Fantasy 9 or 8 or 7 or 6 or 5 or any of them. I think they're all going to be coming over the next sort of couple of years. I will pick up none of them. Crystal Chronicles appeals to me far more. So another reveal, this was a bit of a surprise. It was another, like, God, does every game come to Switch? And then I looked into it a bit more, and it's a bit more surprising in different ways. But the Lego collection of Harry Potter is coming to Switch. And I didn't realise that this was exclusive to Sony. And it's coming to Xbox and Switch for the first time outside of Sony. I never realised that. I think on this generation, sorry. I think it was on 3DS and 360 and stuff like that. But it's the HD version was exclusive to Sony until now. So they're coming. Lee, you love your Lego games. Do you love Harry Potter?
This might be a nice one. Yeah, my son's been watching the movies and he's started reading the books. He's at the age, so I think he's into the third book, The Prisoner of Azkaban. So this would be a really good, because it's Lego Harry Potter's years 1 to 4 and the 5 to 7 all bundled together. It would be a nice one to pick up. Yes.
So this appeals to you.
Yeah.
What about you, Greg? I can't imagine you being a Harry Potter fan.
Who is Harry Potter? I had no interest at all. Like.
That's fair enough, but it's again good to see coming out in late October, perfect timing for Christmas and stuff like that. I'm unsure. I think it may be a bit too soon for Hugo, and it doesn't really hold much appeal to me. But at the same time, it's the kind of game, a Lego, that he could get into. I don't know. We'll see. Probably not. But again, great to see all these new games. And just finally, on top of like new announcements. So we obviously Sega Ages. We knew about these that were coming. There was delay. They were meant to coming out in August. Now they're coming out in September. And they've announced. I don't know, Lee. I think you're more clued up on this. Is it a second wave, or is this the first batch, or have they even announced a release schedule? But they've announced some new games. So tell us about these new games that they've announced and how it fits in.
It's hard to say whether it's a second wave or not. It's just, these are the games, because they mentioned 15 first of all, so this is still in the original 15. But the way they've announced them is they've announced them in waves. So what was it? The first wave was, and blah, blah, blah. It's ended now with Sonic the Hedgehog, Thunder Force 4, Phantasy Star, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, and Gain Ground. And then last week, for this kind of second wave, they announced the Space Harrier game, which I love Space Harrier, and I had it on the 3D Classics on the 3DS. But they've also announced Sonic 2, Columns 2, the puzzle game, Outrun, which I also love, and Thunder Force AC. What's nice about these is that, at least they've talked about two of them, is that Columns 2 will feature online battles as an addition, which is great addition. And Outrun will have additional arranged music.
And the music's amazing in Outrun.
The music's amazing. So whether that will be like orchestral music rather than the chip bits, just to throw a bit of variety in the music you can choose. But yeah, I love Outrun. That's dead cert for me, I think. How about you boys?
Yeah, I bought so many, and I even bought the collections of 3D Classics on the 3DS, and I've played through Space Harrier and Sonic and Outrun and Thunder Force. I don't know. It depends on the price. It depends how much they are. I feel as like I've said before, I'm not a massive Sega fan, and that's why. And I own them, so I don't know if I can be bothered to play them again on Switch. But if they're cheap enough, especially like you said, Outrun is amazing. I mean, I played it through a couple of years ago, and it's still incredible. But so I don't know. Depends on what that Columns 2 with online, that appeals to me instantly. So depends on what the additions are. I'm still on the fence about this. What about you, Greg?
I have to say I'm not massively hyped about it, because like you, I've got a few of these on the 3DS, including the Sonic games and Outrun and Space Harrier as well, and I played through them all. And I have played through the Sonic games quite a lot, because my friend had a Mega Drive back when I was younger, so played those loads. Although when I was playing Sonic Mania last year, I kind of thought I still slightly prefer the Mega Drive games, so I maybe will still get those on the Switch. But as for the other ones, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Kind of frustrated. Like Sega always kind of like hangs their hat on these games that came out in that sort of Mega Drive era. Whether it be in the arcades or whatever, and I kind of just wish they would give us some like Dreamcast games or like some forgotten Saturn games or something.
That's got
Mega CD games, 32X. Yeah, that's when I'll be like really interested when the platforms kind of become more diverse. But yeah, it's still great. I wonder if we'll have one icon which we click into, and then we've got all the games that we've got access to, or it'll be an icon for every single game. That's an OS issue, maybe more than anything. But cool. So, but speaking of, I was going to say speaking of online. It's not even we weren't. So I don't know why I said that. But let's get on to online. This is going to be surely a massive part of tomorrow. Better be. I mean, surely it's coming out next week or the week after at the latest. But we've heard some more news, and it's not good news. So they've kind of spoken about the cloud saves, and there's been a list of games that are kind of exempt from having cloud saves, and there's some really bizarre, hideous kind of titles in here. Splatoon 2, which is bonkers. It doesn't make any sense. Pokemon Let's Go. Then there's NBA. I can sort of understand that because I think the save file is about 20 gig, so I can sort of understand that. FIFA 19, Dead Cells, Dark Souls Remastered. It isn't good, especially because they don't give us a way to, unless they do, which would kind of solve this kind of issue. Give us a way to transfer those saves to a computer, so we can back them up manually at least. But they don't give us that option. So this is horrific. Their excuses are terrible. They have to find a solution to give us these save files, to at least give us the data. They're worried about people exchanging a Pikachu and keeping their old Pikachu, and worried about Splatoon 2, like the rank dropping down so they go on an old save file and go back to, who cares? Who cares if someone's cheating to get a slightly better rank or worse? Really, who cares? I'm sure everybody would rather be able to save their profile more than a couple of people cheating their rank, which doesn't really impact them anyway. So I don't know. I'm presuming you guys are as frustrated as everybody else about this.
For the Splatoon 2 one, yes, definitely. The amount of hours I put in and the thought of losing those hours and then having to re-download the game itself and then restart Splatoon 2, that would just put me off completely, and I'd never restart it again. It would be one of those things that, all right, if now I'm waiting for Splatoon 3 and maybe they can sort it out on that. Yeah, really, really bizarre. Surely there's some way they can do something in the background to make it so people can't copy things. Anyway.
Why not just have it so on certain games, rather than you can't back up cloud, well, maybe you can't reload old cloud saves, and then if every time you go online it's auto saves, like you can't not save it to this cloud, so you can never go back.
There's a third-party game that said that they did that, and I can't remember which one it is now. They will constantly... Oh, Diablo 3. Diablo 3 said it will constantly, in the background, whether you're running the game or not, constantly look for your save file and re-upload it. Even if it's the same one, it will just check. Why can't they do that? Constant check-in, you know? Amazing.
I think they will. I think they've just not thought about it, and they're just holding off, and they're like, right, for now you can't save it. We'll figure out a solution, and then we'll sort it out. I'm hoping and presuming that that's it. You can argue why are they just thinking about it now, but I'm hoping that is what will happen. That it will get sorted. But what about you, Greg? Are you as stressed about it as Lee?
I don't know if I'm as stressed about it. I haven't put as much time into Splatoon 2 as probably either of you guys, so. Like, if I lose progress on there, I'm not even sure I'm really going to notice it right now. But it's not really a new situation. Like, even like when we were going back to the Wii, I remember you couldn't copy the save files to the SD card of any games that had online in it. Like, none of them, like Mario Kart or whatever, and that was always slightly annoying.
Don't justify that. What about FIFA 19? Imagine there's somebody on our Discord called Clown who is putting literally 800 hours into FIFA.
How?
I almost want him to lose his save file. But either way, I mean, it's bad
Big
news.
Shout
Bad
out to you,
news.
Clown.
Look forward to playing you in FIFA 19.
Oh boy. So we'll see. Hopefully this time, not this time tomorrow, but tomorrow we'll learn everything there is to learn, and hopefully it isn't littered with bad news. So let's go on to something a little bit more positive, and we're going to go and talk a little bit about a few sales things that have been sort of that have come out in Japan. They've sold over 5 million Switches, which is a staggering amount, and over half of them are bought Splatoon, but that's another issue entirely. But 5 million, that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it, Greg?
That's ridiculous in the best sense of the word. Like, it's really, really good.
Yeah, well happy for them. Apart from I'm not happy for the 2.5 million who won't be able to back up their Splatoon 2 files.
But the other 2.5 million are loving it. Like,
yeah.
Oh boy, does anybody know how many general sales in Japan for the other consoles? Not Xbox, but even just thinking of
in the same kind of time frame.
Yeah, and total, and kind of where they at now. Where's Switch Play? So I always find it quite interesting.
Worldwide, I don't know about Japan and stuff, but worldwide, if you look at the first, I don't know how many months it is. Say it was 17 months of the Switch and the 17 months of the PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 is still outselling the Switch, but not by much. But then you have to take into account that the PlayStation 4 had 2 holiday seasons where the Switch has only had 1. And the Switch is now coming into its second holiday season, and Smash is coming out. So the Switch could quite easily overtake the PS4 sales to a certain date, like 2 years. once Christmas and New Year is out of the way.
Okay, yeah. So, but ultimately, he's kind of doing insanely, and I actually think it's been not an amazing year for software. In all honesty, I mean, there's been so much, but people do buy Nintendo kind of hardware for the big Nintendo games, and they haven't released loads of new titles, and it's still selling. And this, with Pokemon, even Mario Party, it's just they're bundling in, and Mario Kart constantly selling, Mario Tennis, all these sports games, Smash Brothers. You've got to presume it's going to be an absolutely ridiculous sort of Christmas period for Nintendo.
I'd actually be really, really interested to see what the sales figures are like over here in Northern Ireland. I'm not even sure where you would go to check something like that, but like it all seems to be like PlayStation and Xbox over here. Like I actually don't know anybody with a Switch apart from me and my brother.
Have you ever been into a game? When I used to go back into game when I was, fair few years ago now, they used to have the top 30 games posted on the wall on a poster. Do they still have that?
Funnily enough, I was in game the other day, yesterday actually, for the first time in ages, and it's still terrible, but I do think they have some sort of list up on the wall, yeah.
That would probably be for the whole of UK though, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be for just Northern Ireland.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I have noticed like the Switch section is probably slightly larger than it was maybe this time last year.
It is positive, isn't it?
They usually sort of have Nintendo just sort of tucked away in a corner and just been kind of used to that over the years, but it's maybe growing a wee bit.
Those GameCube years walking into game was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, very bad, very bad. Yeah, so more sales. Zelda Breath of the Wild is officially the highest selling Zelda game in Japan. It beat out Ocarina of Time, just over 1.2 million, which isn't... It's weird because Zelda's such a massive game for Nintendo and the gaming industry as a whole, but it just doesn't sell amazingly well in Japan, does it? But Breath of the Wild's the best-selling one. It's never a bad thing, is it?
And it's got a few more years behind it, so it's already overtaken the Ocarina of Time, which was pretty much a similar units sold so far, but that's the N64. Yeah, you could easily sell 2 million. I reckon it could reach it if think of the amount of Switches they're going to sell over this holiday period, and if someone then picks up Breath of the Wild at the same time, they could reach that 2 million just in Japan.
Exactly, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it is crazy, these sort of like early Switch games like Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart, even kind of Mario and Rabbids. I know, I was about to say Mario versus Donkey Kong. I was like, no, that's not right. It's over 2 million sold. It's like these games are probably going to continuously sell. Even Mario Tennis and stuff like that. People are going to pick up a Switch this Christmas, especially families and stuff. They're going to get Mario Party, Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey, Mario Tennis, Mario. It's like all these in Zelda, and they're going to constantly sell over the lifespan of the console. It's very impressive. So in the final one, it's just a little one on Dead Cells. Obviously, the massive indie game, which is meant to be incredible. I've still not picked it up yet, but they've said that it's selling the PlayStation 4 version 4-1, which is it's quite amazing. It's a common story that we're hearing as well for Switch, but it's just great to hear that it's still happening, because obviously people were worried, and we're going to chat about this maybe a little bit later from the listener question. People are worried, the more games that flood the Switch, maybe these kind of success stories are not going to be as common, but it's just great to see the Switch doing really well. That's quite a lot of news, and hopefully next week we'll finally be able to talk about actually what happened in the Direct. But it may just be all the things that we've already chatted about today, because it all leaked, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see about that. But now, I want to know what you guys have been playing. So, Lee, last week you told us about humans... Is it human fall flat or humans fall flat?
It's a singular. Human fall flat.
Okay, yeah, but you've been playing it a little bit more, and you wanted to give us a little bit of an update. So just tell us about that and what you've been playing.
Yeah, I did. I haven't been playing much this week, apart from a game that's embargoed, so I can't talk about that for another 2 weeks. But Human Fall Flat, I went back online, got my internet up and running as fast. I even used a wired connection. I'd run a wire all the way through my living room to my Switch dock and ran the online, because I really was quite critical of the kind of lag that was seen in the online. Now, it's not great. There is still a little bit of lag, but it's so much better, and so much better that my son has played Human Fall Flat more than any other game this week. And he's gone online himself. He's gone, Dad, I don't want to play with you. Oh, thanks, son. And he's online with 7 other people enjoying himself. There is still lag, but the worst I've seen is a 1 second lag, which is challenging. and the best I've seen is about a quarter of a second lag. I suppose it depends on what kind of group you join, how far that group is away from where we are situated. But with a quarter second lag, even a half second lag, you can time your jumps well enough to get across the gap that you need to. I did share some videos on Twitter, just little 30-second fights normally. You end up grabbing Santa doesn't want to let go, and you drag him off the edge of a cliff, as I alluded to last week. A lot of fun, actually.
It did look fun. It appealed to me.
Oh, good. There's no way to join friends. I can't see any way to say, hey, there's no friend list. When you click into the interface, it's like network, okay? Click on network. Then you got local player network, or, so you can join many switches together, or network. So I go network, so I go online. Then it looks for hubs, so people already playing. And then you've got a choice of, I can join this person, or I can be a host and create my own hub. So that is probably the way you're going to do it, but there's no way to search for friends. So I'd have to create a hub, and then I'd have to contact you through Discord or whatever and say, hey, I'm online, search. And then you search for the hub, you look for Lon Dragon, and there I am, and then you could jump into my game. But madness again, no easy system of going, hey, Darren's online, let me jump into his game. No. So that's a bit infuriating. But when you're actually in the game, when it doesn't crash, because very often as well, I'd be clicking on a game, you say, let me join this group, and then it'll go, sorry, you can't join this group. And for maybe every 3 times of me trying to join a game, twice it would crash out, once successful. So it's shoddy, to say the least. At least it works, So if you do want a bit of online play, you will get some. Anyway, other than that, I've been busy with that Broken Sword 5, which I won't be talking about for a while, and I played some demos again, just to fill in half an hour here and there that I had spare. And my first demo I'm going to talk about is Mega Man 11. And it's Mega Man, except that it looks great, plays fluidly. The jumping and shooting feels exactly like it's been ripped out of the older games. You can, if you've ever played a Mega Man game in the past, you can come here, feel at home straight away. And it's just a Mega Man game, platforming is either heaven or hell for you. For me, myself, it sits somewhere in the middle, sometimes it's hell, sometimes it's heaven. Because enemies, as usual, can be placed in these really absurdly annoying places, just there to make your jump and ladder climbs as difficult as possible. They've got the enemy respawning, so if you tread backwards a little bit, like moving down a ladder, so there's an enemy above you, you move down and the ladder top scrolls out of the screen, then you go back up, the enemy reappears. So it's got all that kind of finicky old style, which if you love Mega Man, you probably love this. But the quality of life changes seen in, which I've downloaded, the Mega Man 1-6 Legacy Collection. It's not here. There's no rewind feature. You're going to be challenged, and you're going to be challenged hard. And maybe the game suffers a little, I thought at first, but upon dying, at least you don't have to go right back to the beginning of the level. You basically die and go back to the beginning of the screen that you've just died at. So you don't have to trek along, which is really nice. You don't have to trek a long way all the way back through the level just to die again at a section that needs more practice. So it's nice in that respect. Things I didn't like, cheesy dialogue. I think, Darren, you played this. What did you think of the one-liners from Blockman? He goes, "I'll hit you like a ton of bricks." Oh, yeah, marvellous.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of embrace the kind of cheesy awfulness of it. I was really surprised by this demo. I like Mega Man a lot, but I thought it was great. In screenshots, I thought it looked all right, but did it look too bad? I think in motion, in playing it, it looked amazing. Played great. I was really excited by it.
The motion of it is beautiful. There's this one section where you're on a moving platform and you're jumping through a maze, which you have to make by shooting blocks out of the way. So you've got this time-based element, which I'll talk about the gear system now as well. You got this time-based element, which worked really well. The jumping is as effective as ever. Brilliant stuff. And then there's the gear system. And the gear system is basically one of the biggest quality of life things in this game, where for a limited amount or limited period of time, you can turn on and off a slow down time effect with the R button, or get extra power for your buster weapon, your arm buster, with the L button. So you click R to turn it on, and your meter starts to overheat, but it slows down time. And there's certain enemies that you'll need to slow down so you can hit them in a precise location. If you didn't slow down time, they'd be on top of you before you had enough shots in. But you can click it again to turn it off, and then your overheating system starts to cool down. Now, if you click it on and leave it on until right at the end, it will kind of completely overheat, and you cannot use it again until it completely cools down. So you've got to kind of feather this heat up and cool down system, and once you've got the hang of it, I think it works really, really well, and it's very, very promising for the final game. The last thing that they add to the demo is that the weapon selection. They don't just say, hey, you go and block man and you just got your arm buster. They also give you 2 other Robot Master's weapons that you would pick up after defeating the Robot Master. And you can either select those by scrolling with the ZL and ZR, or they got this really nice R stick choice. You know, you push the R stick up, left, right, or in the diagonals, and you can choose one of 9 weapons there. Plus what's the dog's name, Greg? Do you know his name?
I have no idea. I'm not really huge on Mega Man.
Anyway, the dog has a coil, and you jump on the back of the coil, and it propels you up so you can get to areas that you couldn't reach normally, and that is just mapped to a button. If you've ever played Mega Man games in the past, you know, you would have to pause the game, scroll through every single weapon just to get to the dog, and then click on it, and then once you've used it, you'd have to go back into the pause menu and choose your weapon again. This negates all that, so it feels very fluid, very fast, looks great. However, it's Mega Man. You know, I've just got the 6 games from the Legacy Collection.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to spend another £25 downloading this when it comes out on the 2nd of October.
Maybe burnt out a wee bit.
Yeah, maybe.
The dog's called Rush, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yes, that is his name, Rush. What else have I been playing? Flat Heroes. Here's another delightful surprise for me. Flat Heroes is a screen at a time. It's a 2D based platforming dodging game, basically, and you're a square. You're a coloured square, and you can move around by left, right, up, down, jump, double jump, stick to walls, and all it does is certain missiles will appear at the top or bottom, and you have to use the level's geometry, like a platform, to block those missiles coming from hitting you, so you're using it as a shield. Later, as the game goes on, you end up having homing missiles coming at you, so you have to keep on moving around and manipulating the way the missiles are coming in, so they always land at a particular platform, so you're on the other side of the platform. It's very simple, it's very fast, it's very movement based dodging, but what really sold this to me was the multiplayer. And you can have 4 players having 4 different colour squares at the same time, and only one person has to survive a certain area to progress to the next level. Great stuff it was. I was very, very surprised. I downloaded it not thinking much of this demo. This is another one that's now on my watch list. Flat Heroes.
Flat Heroes. Oh, okay, yeah. Never even heard of it.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
As usual, I'm having a wee look in the phone here. The still images weren't really doing anything for me, but there's a GIF here, and there's like all these like homing missiles chasing after one wee green square, and it looks quite intense.
It's very intense. It's madness. But if there's 2 of you, you can use one person as bait and the other one can hide off in safety. But it gets even more madness. I know which kind of GIF you're talking about. That's one of the earlier levels. There are sections later. Even in the demo, I think it gives you about 30 little levels to play through. Yeah, very surprising. In motion, much better than in pictures.
Do you know how much it is?
It's not much. It's under a tenner.
Okay.
Maybe in
good.
a kind of £7-8 range. I can't quite remember though.
I've just looked. It's $8.99. Yeah, it does look good.
It's pretty good.
So what's your final demo?
My final demo was, so I've spoken positively about 2, so it's time to bring it down. Hyper Sentinel. This is a side-scrolling shooter where you're moving from left to right, and you can turn 180 degrees left and right at any time you want. And there's 2 buttons. One is shoot, one is boost. Never use boost. Never saw the reason to use boost. And the reason why I never use boost is because the edges of the screen are too close to your ship. So the enemies are practically on top of you by the time you can see them. You got very, very little time to react and shoot them. So you end up continuously shooting, which isn't just hold the button down, it's keep on clicking the button. So you're constantly clicking the button. When you come eventually to a boss, the boss just flies across the screen towards you in a kamikaze. It's impossible to dodge them. When I got to level 3 or 4 boss, it's just they taking so much damage from you by crashing into you. It's really, really bizarre. If they zoomed it out a bit so you had more screen, you could see more on the screen at one time, and you'd have more time to react, it might have a good idea going on here. But as it is, it's terrible. Really, really dire. Don't even play the demo. Don't bother. Hyper Sentinel. Forget it.
Wow. Brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. But that's good. Thank you very much, Lee. So, Greg, what have you been playing?
Before we get into what I've been playing, I'll maybe give it a wee tiny bit of background on where I'm coming from with this one. We scoffed like a few weeks ago at this. I think it was the best-selling game of the year on Switch or something so far. I'm not sure if that's still the case. But anyway, like when I was growing up, like I had a friend lived up the road, and like he grew up in like with the Mega Drive, Master System, Sega guy, whereas like I had the Super Nintendo. And then we got a Nintendo 64, and my friend was like, he was really interested in getting a Nintendo 64 and Diddy Kong Racing, and like that was really exciting to me. Like the thought of, oh, he can bring down an extra controller for like multiplayer sessions, or we can like share games and stuff. But in the end, like his brother-in-law eventually sold him his old PS1, so like the N64 dream kind of died. But from that, there was a load of games that came with the PS1, and there's a few of them that kind of stood out to me. There was things like Destruction Derby 2, Rage Racer, Rallycross, which is probably one of my favourite racing games on the PlayStation 1, Duke Nukem, but there was also Crash Bandicoot, and I don't remember playing it that much, but I remember watching my friend play it a wee bit, and this would have been a time when, on the N64, I maybe only had a couple of games at the time. I think it would have been FIFA 64, and we all kind of know how that one turned out, and Mario Kart 64. So like this was a time before I had played like Super Mario 64, and like seeing this 3D platform on the PlayStation was like, it was intriguing, and like I was interested in playing it. I never really got to play it until years later, but anyway, basically what it boils down to is last week there I ordered the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy on the Switch because it was on offer from base for, I think it was $21.99 roughly. I wasn't expecting it to like it as much as I actually did. Now, I'm starting positive here. It might not end entirely positively, but like it arrived on Friday afternoon there, and like I've been working every day, but actually like my son had me up in the early hours of this morning with very little sleep, and I actually managed to finish off the 3rd game. So I've completed the whole trilogy since Friday. Well, I say complete it. I've cleared it. There's like loads more you can do in all of the games, but like I'm not really interested in going back for those sorts of things. It's just basically I want to go from start to finish. So I'll maybe just run through like each of the games individually. Like the first Crash Bandicoot, like I say, that's the one that have those like feelings from childhood about, and I did enjoy it more than I expected to. The controls are still fiddly, just like they were back then. Kind of judging distances and stuff it can be fiddly sometimes, so you will die quite a lot. I'd say the first game is probably the most generous with lives, certainly early on. You will need them for some of the levels. There's a level like getting towards the end called High Road, which is like notoriously infuriating. But like I say, I did enjoy it. But then I got on to the second game in the series. Monday morning maybe I started it. I think as far as Crash Bandicoot goes, I'm nearly sure like people consider the 3rd one the best in the series, like the pinnacle. I've never really like paid any attention to any games past the PS1 era in that series, but like people always say like 3 maybe the best, or alternatively the second one would be the best. For me personally, the second one, I don't see where that love is coming from, because like, I found that the weakest one of the trilogy. I found a lot of the levels just were like really similar to each other. There was times where like I was maybe in like the third or fourth world or something, and I was like starting a level, and it's like I've played this level before. Obviously I hadn't, but like parts of it were just so similar looking, and like the environments were so similar, like there wasn't enough variety in them. By that stage I was sort of going, okay, maybe getting a wee bit bored of this now. Although they did add like some new moves, like they had like a crouch and a slide thing that wasn't in the first game. And to be honest, the controls are probably a wee bit better in the second and third games than they would be in the first one. And it's maybe not quite as difficult as the first one either, although a lot of the deaths I had from the platforming, they really irritated me, even more than the first one. But the slight difference in the second one is, in the first game, it's basically like you're on a linear path, like you beat a level, you go on to the next level, and it sort of progresses like that. Whereas in the second game, you have like this wee elevator that you go up, and each floor you go up, there's like 5 levels, and you can choose any of the 5 levels to do in any order. But in those levels, you have to collect a crystal to be able to unlock like the next you have to get them all to unlock the next area. And there's a couple of times when I was going through the level, and just for some reason I missed the crystal, so it's like I have to go back in just to pick this thing up. And like there's a couple of times where like there's branching paths, and you maybe like would go down the wrong one and not get the crystal, and it's just slightly annoying design that way. Speaking of annoying design, like the enemies, they're designed really badly. Like there's not a lot of character to a lot of them. They just like, it seems so like generic and cheap. And like there's one of the guys, it actually looks like probably intentionally looks like a big lanky sort of Mario type character. They're really poor, and there's times when it's like there's some enemies like it's clear, like you can either maybe just, you're only able to jump on their head or like slide along the ground to beat them. But there's other ones where it's like I have no idea what way I'm supposed to take care of these enemies, so you'll only figure that out by like, oh, maybe try jumping on their head. Oh, I died, so I'm way back to the last checkpoint. Or you'll try sliding the next time. Oh, that didn't work either. It's not really well thought out. And then there's other ones where it's like they almost change the rules just on the fly. There's a level where you're running through, and like you'll walk past like a wee beehive sort of thing, and like the wasps or bees or whatever will chase you for a section of the level. But as I was going through that level, like every time I jumped over, like there was a big like gap in the level where you jumped over. Every time I done that, the bees seemed to stop chasing me. So I thought, right, as long as I get over this part each time, like I'm safe. So I done that. The whole level was going through. That was fine. And then I got to a section, jumped over a gap again, and the bees were still coming. I was like, right, well, you didn't teach me that this was going to happen, and that just really, really irritated me. I think it changed the rules with a couple of things that way, with a few of the enemies, and that's really poor game design. But anyway, on to Crash 3. It may be my favourite one. I would say, like, in the first couple of worlds of Crash 3, there's probably more variety in those two worlds than there is in the previous two games combined. Because you'll have things like, the first couple of games is largely about platforming. Like the second one mixes it up slightly towards the end, because you'll get a wee jetpack and do a few wee levels that way. But the third game, you'll have things like you'll maybe be on like a jet ski or motorbike, or there's underwater levels, or like you're in a plane shooting down targets and stuff. So there's a lot more variety. That sort of thing, like, it made it more fun to go through each of the worlds, because there was those different aspects to it, and you weren't always doing the same thing. But one thing like all three of the games share in common is you may remember this if you've played any of the Crash games, there's some levels where you are running towards the screen.
I was going to mention that. Those are infuriating in any kind of game, but in Crash they're kind of sums Crash up for me, those levels do. I kind of think of Crash and I think of those levels and the amount of deaths, unnecessary deaths because of them.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error in those levels, because you sort of need to know what's coming, and you often don't find out until it's too late. And there was several where I knew what was coming, and it was still like tricky enough to try and like navigate over it. But other differences in the third game, you have all your abilities that you had in the second game, but there's also like abilities that you unlock as you go through each world. Like you might improve your running speed, or you might gain like a double jump or whatever. And those did help and make it much easier. And I have to say, the third game I died a lot less than I did in either of the previous two. And the bosses were really, really simple in the third game.
Too simple or simple fun?
I would nearly say too simple, although some of the bosses in the first two games are difficult to the point of, I say difficult, they're more frustrating, because like the way Crash works is you take one hit at all with Crash and you're dead. Or you have this it's a mask of a thing called Aku, I think his name's Aku. If you pick him up, get him by like jumping on one of the boxes in one of the levels, if you have him, you're allowed to take one hit, then he disappears, and then it's a wee bit of a safety net. It's like, I suppose it's like a mushroom in Super Mario. Although you can stack those. If you collect like 3 of them through a level without taking a hit, then you'll become invincible. But yeah, if you're doing like a boss level or something and you die like several times in a row, it will give you one of those to sort of help you, to give you that wee bit of a cushion. Because even like some of the bosses that are maybe not that difficult, you'll still make just wee slight mistakes, and it'll drive you nuts sometimes. And that's kind of the case with a lot of the levels. But the ones in 3 were much simpler. But what I will say is, in all of the games, you can just go from start to finish in each of the levels. That's fine. But there's boxes that you can smash, and it sort of keeps a total of them. You have to basically destroy every single box in the level, and some of them are like you have to think about what way to like break them in, and there's like nitro boxes and TNT and stuff which explode, and you sort of have to figure out what pattern to take out the boxes in. Like some of them, like if you make a mistake and like break a box, and that means you can't reach a box that's higher up or something, you can't get that box, you have to restart the level and go through it again. And I think if you do break all the boxes like and collect all these gems and stuff from doing that, then you can unlock maybe like another set of levels maybe at the end of the game, and there's probably like a proper final boss in each of them. I honestly have no interest in going after all those boxes and stuff. Like I don't think the game's good enough that it makes me want to go after it, and like some of the games are some of the levels are hard enough to get through as it is. The thought of having to go through and get all the boxes as well, it's just no, it's not for me. And I'm actually thinking of like, I've beat the games now, I might actually trade it in, because I think because like I liked it enough. I'm sort of like, I'm done with it now, and like I'm not gonna go back and unlock everything in them. So basically, get back exactly what I paid for it. So it seems like a no-brainer almost. Like, and if I ever get an urge to play it again, like I do still have the PS1 games downloaded on the PS3, or like in a few years' time, the game will probably be like a 5 or a 10 or something on the Switch if I just want to pick it up again. So
I thought it sounded horrific, and you make it sound horrific.
Yeah, put me right off it.
You know what? It's probably just me. Like I've probably made it sound worse than it is, because I actually like, there was a thing about it. Like whenever I was at work every day, I was almost like itching to get home just to carry on with it, which is weird. I think that's just like maybe my love of platform games, because it's easy just to like do a couple of levels and then maybe like go do something else. As for the graphics, like obviously it's a wee bit of a downgrade on the PS4 version and stuff, but I read something yesterday, like somebody saying all the Switch versions 480p in handheld mode, it's basically unplayable, which is complete nonsense. It worked absolutely fine. Like I can't really complain. Like there wasn't one point during it where I thought, this game really needs to look better. One wee glitch that I did find was actually in the final boss of the third game, where I don't know, for some reason, like there's a wee cutscene just before the boss, and like I happened to pause it because my son was wanting something, and then whenever I unpause it, like the camera didn't move. So like the boss fight, I could not see the level, so like I just kept dying, and every time like it brought me back into the level, like the camera wouldn't let me see anything that was going on. So I had to actually like quit the game and go back in and do it again. But apart from that, everything worked fine. And if you like platform games, I would say give it a go.
I love platform games, but I'm never ever going to give it a go.
It was 20% off on the European eShop right now. Nintendo have posted on Twitter, and I was going, okay, if Greg is positive about it, and maybe, and thanks, Greg, you've settled my mind. I just saved 20 quid or whatever it is.
Yeah, it is decent, and I did have fun playing with it, but fun's over now. So, like, it's never going to be up at the same sort of level as your Mario or Donkey Kong or whatever, and obviously we've got like Yoshi coming out and stuff, so you're gonna get your platform fill on the Switch one way or another. But as for being like the best selling game of the year or whatever, probably not deserving of that. Like, it might be worth playing for some people, especially if you have like have those same feelings for like or the PS1 era or whatever.
If it drops to a tenner, I'll think about it.
You might actually be surprised.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. My expectations are so low. I mean, I've played it. I've played Crash before, but and I didn't like it. And reminded how much I hated it when I finished Uncharted 4. I don't know if any of you have played that game, but
no.
You can play Crash at the end of it.
Oh yeah, so you can. Yeah, I remember that. That was a nice wee nod.
Oh, that was great. No, to be fair, it was great. It was really fun because so Lisa, you finish the game and then you can play. And then you're in your house and you can just walk around the house and you can go onto the TV and you can play Crash Bandicoot on the TV in the game.
Oh.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's like the NES games in Animal Crossing and stuff. But it did remind me that it's fun for this sort of 1 minute kind of bit at the end of Uncharted 4. But that's about it. But. We'll see. But I'm glad, ultimately, like you say, you bought it, you played it, you finished 3 games in a weekend, and now you can sell it and not lose any money on it. It's pretty good going. The game I'm going to talk about, I didn't want to talk about it because I'd rather talk about games I've sort of finished or at least nearly finished. And I've just started this. But I want to talk about it because it's amazing. And also because I've got nothing else to talk about. But this game, it's the game I've been calling out for a long time. And I got it, Into the Breach, on the Nintendo Switch. It's a tactical RPG. It's on very small grids. I actually don't know the dimensions, but roughly sort of like 8x8, say, something like that. Very small grids. And the game has got a nonsense storyline. It's fine. I don't mean that in a kind of negative sense. I mean, it's just aliens are invading the Earth. It's set in the future. Aliens are invading the Earth. And you've got 4 islands, and the kind of CEOs of these islands, you kind of work with them to kind of help them eradicate. They're called the Vec, the aliens, from it, and it's fine. It's kind of well written, and it's absolutely fine for what it is. But ultimately, it's about the gameplay, and I was very excited about this game, and that excitement was justified completely with it. I'm absolutely loving it. So basically, how it works is and the reason I love it as much as I do is because at first it is very simple gameplay, very simple. The kind of systems it introduces. It's very easy, very quick and easy to get started. Each level takes about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, so it feels very pick up and play. It feels like, even because it's quite tricky at times, even if you fail, if you still sort of feel like, oh, it's fine, I'll go back into it. But just to kind of explain how it works, so you start off and you've got 3 mechs, and one of them's like a brutal, kind of a punching mech who you kind of go up close to enemies and punch them. One of them fires things from afar, and one of them can fire across the whole screen, and it's in grids. And the way it works is it's sort of like got a time travel element to the whole game. So you see what the enemies are going to do before they do them, and you have to then react accordingly. And weirdly, it's not about protecting yourself. You can die. Your mechs can die. It doesn't matter. What you've got to do is protect the island, and that's kind of done by power. So basically, all the buildings have power, and once the power depletes to 0, you've failed the whole game. Done, finished. And so what you've got to do is, in effect, it's a balance of, do you protect yourself so that you can still be effective, or do you ultimately protect the buildings? And sometimes there's actually, it don't matter if I lose 1 bit of power, say, I think there's about 8 power, in effect, lives, I guess. Do you protect the building? Do you protect yourself? How do you do that? But like I say, you can predict, well, you see what the aliens are going to do, and you have to position your kind of mechs in attack accordingly. So, and as like all tactical RPGs, you can move, each kind of unit has got it can move 3 squares, or it can move 2 squares, or whatever, and it can hit. And it's very simple. So these aliens are on the board, you're on the board, you position your players and you react accordingly. And it's just great fun, really quick, really simple, and it's amazing fun. But the genius of the game is how it very slowly introduces new tactical elements. So then you realise that, actually, when you complete an island, you get sort of like upgrade points. If you do missions, you get sub-missions on it. So, for example, on one level, you've got to protect a train that's travelling across the level. And if you protect the train so it doesn't get hit by any of the aliens, then you get some cores or something like that. Ultimately, you can upgrade. And so there's submissions on each level as well. So if you do that, then at the end of each island, you can then upgrade your mechs. You're like, oh, okay. So now all of a sudden you've got extra moves, you've got extra movement moves, you can upgrade the movement and power of your mechs and stuff like that. So it then introduces that level. So you can like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden I can be much more powerful, I can got much more kind of moves to do. Then you move on to another island, and then they introduce a new level of enemies who do very different things, and they introduce elemental effects. And they now all of a sudden there's some of the they can poison. They have environmental effects, so there's earthquakes that happen, or there's kind of all sorts of things which can then all of a sudden you have to slowly tweak and develop your kind of tactical strategy, which started off very simple, and all of a sudden you just introduce all these little things, and then that kind of builds and builds and builds. Now, what happens is I've only completed one island and I got onto the second island, so that's where I am out of 4, is when you lose all the power and you've failed, you die. But you don't die, because there's a time travel element to it. You go backwards in time and you start again. And then it all restarts again. But each of your pilots of your mechs develop in skills and things like that, and that continues throughout. So it does have a sort of a, and you're going to hate this, Greg, it has a sort of a roguelike element to it. And a little bit of it is procedurally generated. I don't know if it's procedurally, I think it is. I think it's because when you replay the island's slightly different, and the levels are slightly different each time you play. And the enemies are slightly different each time you play, and so it kind of actually so basically it's what they call it is different timelines. So it kind of, they explain it within the story. So the idea is that you fail, and then you're like, right, we need to kind of go into a different timeline, and try and do this again. And then so the idea is that you're continuing forward, but you're kind of moving through time and going to a different timeline and trying to defeat the aliens. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I can picture it now, and I cannot wait to start this. I've downloaded it, and this is really on the top of my to-play list, yeah. Sounds great, Darren. Sounds great. It
is absolutely amazing. And another thing you can do is over time, the more missions you complete, there's like an achievement system. So if you do specific things, like one of them was if you knock 3 enemies into the water in one go, then you get an achievement. And when you get achievements, you get coins. And then with coins, you can buy new mech units. That's another thing that gets introduced, is that then what you can do is, because you've only got 3 mechs and that's it. But then what you can do is you can play as a different team. And then when you move timelines, you can change your team if you want. So you've got slightly different mechs who do slightly different things. And it looks like, I think there's about 10 different teams that you can, and that'll take a while to unlock. But so in effect, you sort of go forward, then you go all the way back to the beginning. But it is different. You're not playing exactly the same levels. But I cannot express how much I love this game. It's everything about it is at the minute. Like I said, I'm still early on, but everything at the minute is perfect. It's not overwhelming, which some strategy games can be. It's so simple, and like I said, the layering is so brilliantly done that you feel as if you understand it at every moment. Oh, okay, right now I need to do this, rather than it throwing everything at you. And it looks like there's so much sort of depth that you can, these. When I played the new team, it's like, oh my god, it's like almost not completely, but it's like it completely changes it. It changes it so much that it feels completely new, even though you can play the same level. It feels completely different because the way you control is different. The enemies are different. Everything about the level is sort of, although in essence you're doing the same thing, it feels completely different. So it feels fresh every time you keep playing it. So it looks like, there's so much to do, and there's different difficulty settings which then unlock new things and give you more abilities to, unlocks to kind of unlock all your abilities at a quicker speed. So it, for me, it's everything that I wanted it to be. It's as good as I wanted it to be, and I absolutely love it. So I think if you like this kind of thing, it sounds like you do. You've got a treat early ahead of you to get started on this.
Can't wait. And I was also pleasantly surprised. It's only about a 227 megabyte download as well. It's tiny little file. I thought, excellent, great game, small download. Brilliant stuff.
Perfect. And it's great on the telly. It's amazing handheld as well. Even just the way the menus work. It's like, even just the way the controls work in terms of how easy it is to access information. It's the way they map to the buttons. And if you press L over anything on the game, whether it's in a menu or on a level, it tells you exactly what they can do. You're never sort of struggling. So you want to know, this enemy, what's the damage it can do? How far can it reach me? And stuff like that. It even has little videos showing you like how the enemy strikes, because some of them fire just ahead of you, or it can fire projectiles, so you know, actually, I need to be out of its line of sight, or I need to be... It's everything is perfect. It's just designed to perfection.
See, this drags into my memory the Banner Saga, you know, all the problems that it needed to fix. It sounds as if this is doing it, you know, every little quality of life thing, this seems to be having it in abundance.
Yeah, absolutely. The only little niggle is, and it's purely... it's not within the game's design. It's just when you load the game up, you click the icon on the Switch, and no exaggeration, there's no image, there's no loading screen, there's no text. You press it goes to black, and no exaggeration, it's about 30 seconds. And when you're looking at a black screen, that feels like an eternity. And the very first time I did think it crashed, so I sorted it out, and then when I was like, oh no, this is just what it does. And then it annoyingly, then it introduces a load screen about 30 seconds in. You're like, can you do that at the beginning so I know what's going on? But other than that, at the minute, it is perfect. Greg, are you tempted by this game? Have I convinced you?
I'm really happy for you both.
Thanks, Greg.
Like, you guys, you play it, you have a great time.
Does it really not appeal to you in the slightest?
Not really, although the way you sort of like described it, the way like it sort of like it really explains everything like superbly, and it starts you off really simply and stuff. Like, if I was going to get into something like that, then that does sound like a good starting point.
Definitely, absolutely.
But it's trying to muster up the desire to start something like that. That's because I have played Advance Wars a wee bit in the past and never got into it. It's probably the same with Fire Emblem, so it's an uphill battle there to try and get me convinced to try something like this.
They should release a demo. But I don't know if they will. But you know, I think if you do like it, it's a good. But I never even really thought about Advance Wars and stuff like that. It is very similar in some regards. It's not as there isn't as much variety of enemy and kind of mech. Obviously, I'm at the beginning, so I'd imagine there probably is. It's easily as good as Advance Wars, and I love Advance Wars, and if this was an Advance Wars Into the Breach, you know, it would feel actually, it's like, yeah, actually that kind of makes a bit of sense. It could kind of feel like that. It could be like a modern version of Advance Wars. But either way, it's easily as good at the minute. You know, who knows when I get further into it. It is incredible. So so I'm very happy with that, and I can't wait to play more.
My hype levels are through the roof.
Yeah, no, I am. I'll apologise now if you play it and you're like, "What was he talking about? This is naff." But I'm looking forward to you starting it and see what you think. But now we have a listener question. John Forster from the Facebook group said, with the wealth of indies coming out on Switch, are you concerned that many good ones will get buried under the not so great ones? And bonus question, is there any particular genre you feel is very underrepresented on the console? Thank you. Cheers, Johan. I think I said John Forster. It's Johan Forster. Sorry about that, Johan. Greg, you actually don't buy loads of indies. You said you got about 20 odd games in total. But how do you feel about the sheer volume of games that like literally come out every single week? Do you think it's a problem?
It is overwhelming. I'm not sure the eShop is designed particularly well at this point, because like if you go back to like the Wii Virtual Console, for example, the way you were able to like filter the content. So if you wanted to buy a Nintendo 64 game, obviously you filter it down, you click the Nintendo 64 logo, you're in business. Everything seems to be a wee bit. Everything's just sort of like put together in the eShop, and like things are going to get lost if you're not really like on top of what's coming out. You might not even realize a game that you maybe love has been buried away at the bottom of the pile somewhere.
But let's presume that Nintendo are going to fix the eShop, and they're going to be able to say they've got much better sort of filters and genres and consoles and things like that. Presume that the searching functionality and the discovery functionality is better and is great. Is the volume of games a problem? Are we getting too many games? And do you fear, like Johan implies, of good games getting missed?
Good games get missed all the time. Like sometimes, like regardless of how much stuff there is. Like I'm sure you'll have plenty of games in the past where like you've bought it and you've absolutely loved it, and you'll find out it's maybe only sold like 10,000 copies or something. That's obviously going to happen here as well. And like you can't really like account for taste, like with Crash Bandicoot for example, like being the fastest, like the biggest seller of the year, whatever. It's obviously not the best game of the year, but like people have bought it in their thousands, and like they'll like it or whatever, but people don't always buy what's good.
So you don't think it's a particular problem on Switch?
I don't think it's localized entirely on just to the Switch, although I mean you have examples there like Dead Cells and stuff like selling so much better on the Switch than the other consoles, so that's maybe like an example of like a good game not getting buried under the not so great ones, even though it probably came out in a week where there's loads of other titles which you maybe don't know anything about. But I don't know, as for like the genre being underrepresented, I have to say like the racing genre on the Switch is, I don't really know any great racing games apart from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I was going to bring that one up, yeah.
Fast?
I have Fast on the Wii U. I haven't really played it. I never really got into it. Like it's not F-Zero basically, so it wasn't really working for me. But you look back to the Nintendo 64, and I've probably mentioned this before, like the variety of racing games in that system, like with like Sight Bike, Wave Race, F-Zero, even looking at like 1080, Ridge Racer, Top Gear Rally, V Rally, and there is a V Rally coming to the Switch actually, but I don't know how good it's supposed to be yet. We haven't seen any of the Switch footage of it yet.
It came out on the other platforms yesterday, and we still haven't seen. They just said, "Oh, it's going to come later on the Switch," and we've seen nothing. I don't think we haven't even seen a screen of it.
Is it being well received on the other platforms?
Not particularly. I think it's like maybe 50-60% sort of thing. But they sort of like. I've seen a couple of things about mentioning like a lack of like rewind features and stuff. I pure hate rewind features in racing games. I think it's like stupid,
especially in a rally game.
Yeah, but like V-Rally, it's a wee bit of like a throwback to those earlier rally games in some ways, and like I loved rally games back then way more than I do now. Like I haven't played a rally game in years. They don't interest me anymore. So yeah, the risk of going towards like a V-Rally topic here will just I will leave it there, like, but the racing genre is really underrepresented.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think that can be argued too much. Lee, I mean, obviously you can. I'm presuming you agree, you being a massive racing fan with the genre one, but so can elaborate on that. But then also go back into the first question as well about, do you fear that 30 games a week coming out for the Switch?
Yeah, realistic sim races, not just races. You know, we've even got was that fruit race that came out and blah blah. So there are those kind of cardy, childish ones which will get buried in the eShop, which will never sell very well. But for realistic sim racing, you know, the kind of Gran Turismo kind of thing for Switch, there's nothing, is there? I say it every week. Where's my F1 Codemasters? Bring it out and just quiet me down. As for the Switch eShop itself, I come from it from a different perspective, because I'm going to plug our website now, nintendoreview.co.uk. I do the eShop released news every week, which I get around to on a Friday. So I peruse the list and modify it and all that, so I know exactly what's coming out, when it's coming out, and what to look out for, and that gets stuck then, whatever highlights that kind of tickle my fancy gets put onto my wish list. My wish list, however, is horrendous. There must be 200 titles on there, which I haven't, from the beginning of picking up the Switch and gone, yeah, I might be interested in that when it gets a sale, yeah, I might be interested in that, and I haven't gone and deleted anything from it apart from titles that I've bought. So maybe it's down to about 150 now. But with 30 titles coming out roughly every week, and then me clicking on another 5-6 titles that are possibilities to pick up in the future in the sale, that wish list is just going to get bigger and bigger, and it's just like the eShop list. It's a list in release date order. There's no rhyme or reason to it, you know, it's just, oh, this game came out before this game. And if you want to search for anything, you have to know, I don't know if you tried the search feature where you type in a name of a game. If there's a slight spelling mistake, it won't recommend anything. It won't say, oh, you spelt the first 5 letters right, here's something it could be. It just goes, nope, there's no titles called that. Oh, okay, so you know, it's got to be the spot on the word you're looking for. It doesn't have to be the full title, but it's just things like that, you know. It's very difficult to find an older game. And games that I praise highly, things like Wolverblade, you can't find it anywhere on there, without actually going to the search function and going Wolverblade on there. Because it was one of the slightly earlier games, you'd have to scroll through 800 games before you get to it. It's amazing. Another game, Tiny Barbarian, didn't sell well, but I rated very highly. You couldn't see it on there unless, and this is what a lot of developers like RC Maniacs have done on the Wii U, is that they put their games on sale every week just so it's in that sale list. And it's got to the point now on the Switch eShop that there are so many games on sale every week, you can't fit it on a single page, and you've got a list that you've got to scroll down as well. It's a tricky situation to get out of, and it's only going to get worse until they do something about it.
Yeah, but it's, I kind of agree with you guys in a sense. The problem isn't the amount of games coming out. We can't, the fact that there's 150 games that you want to buy. That's can't be a bad thing, surely.
No. The
problem is the intent, is the eShop. That's the problem. It's the discoverability, it's the search functionality, it's the kind of the genre, the filters and things like that. They just aren't there. They're not. It's getting a little bit better. They've improved it very little over the past sort of year, 18 months, but it's not good enough at all. And the fact that the sale page has now become too much for it to cope with. I laugh at it every week. I was almost like, Nintendo should restrict how many games can be on sale at one time, because this is just stupid. And another thing it does, when you click on the list, it's not the same order as the squares. So if you go to the bottom and then you click on the list, to find the last game that you looked at, there may be some games you've missed it. Whatever. It's ridiculous. But,
yes, you're right. No, I have noticed that, yes. Yeah, yes, an amazing, strange thing. And you're thinking, have I seen that game before? Because it's not in the same place as it was. But yeah. Ultimately,
I think I personally don't worry about good games getting missed, because, like you said, Greg, good games have always been missed. It's always going to happen. And I think ultimately, because of the way people communicate about games on forums and on things like Discord and messaging and websites, I think if a good game, if it is a good game, people are going to know about it.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but hopefully Nintendo will improve from their side of things. As for underrepresented genres, I agree. I couldn't think of any, but now you guys have said racing. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Maybe first-person shooters.
That's another one. Yeah, single-player campaign first-person shooters with an additional multiplayer aspect. Yeah, we don't have enough of them.
Not loads. Other than that, we're pretty lucky on how much stuff there are. Sports games, maybe sports games as well, actually. But that's improving as well. And Mario Strikers is going to get announced tomorrow at the Direct, so there's going to be another one to add to the list. But on that, let's get on to our next section, which is the topic of the week. So we didn't do it last week. There should have been a Direct. The Direct we still don't know actually, but everyone is presuming, and people were right last week, it's going to be tomorrow at 11 p.m. This podcast will be out tomorrow morning, so Thursday morning, by the time you're listening to it, before the Direct. So we thought, let's give our predictions. We're not allowed to talk, so I don't know if you have done this, but you're not allowed to mention Yoshi or New Super Mario Bros. U, or any game that's already been announced. We're going to do it in specific sections, and we'll take it in turns. I'll go first. So the first one is third-party reveals. So my third-party game is based on the fact that it got cancelled because of something in it which may not be good. So I was thinking maybe it's something post-apocalyptic, maybe it's something bad. So I'm saying third-party reveal tomorrow, Fallout 3 and New Vegas double pack is going to be revealed as my third-party game. And that's my prediction. Lee, what is your third-party prediction?
That's a good one, Darren. I very much like that one. I've gone for something a little smaller. Capcom giving us some love with the Smash Castlevania on all that coming to Smash Brothers. I'm going to predict that it's a bit of a two kind of thing. I don't know which one, but it's either they're going to bring, and I doubt it's this one, a new Castlevania game, or they're going to bring a Castlevania collection to the Switch.
There's a slight flaw to your reasoning.
And what's that?
It's not Capcom.
No, it's not Capcom. It is...
It's Konami.
Konami, yes. Massive. Come on, Capcom, where's my Castlevania game?
Yeah, we've never had Symphony of the Night on a Nintendo system ever. I don't think.
Which system did that come on?
PlayStation.
It was on PS1, but then you could download it on the PS3 or Xbox 360.
Now, if they did a Castlevania collection, what would you like to see in it? Would you like to see the kind of 8-bit, 16-bit games, or would you like to see the GBA games and the DS?
All of them.
All of them. All in one collection, yeah? 10 games.
Why not? I think I think it's a pretty good. I think that's a pretty good shout, though, Lee. I want it as well, but I think it could easily happen with Konami's sort of relationship with Nintendo. But what would I want? So now, what about you, Greg? Konami. Yeah.
I've actually went Konami here as well, and I've went for Metal Gear Rising.
Oh, sorry, I was still wanted to chat about Castlevania, but sorry, yeah, Metal Gear Rising. Yep.
Go back to Castlevania. Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I was just dreaming about what we want on it, but yeah, sorry. Let's move on. Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah, Metal Gear Rising. Obviously, it came out on the PS3 and 360 generation. I imagine I think it was Platinum that made that, and I've actually played through it. I'm not like a huge fan of it actually, but it's the sort of game that I could see them maybe porting across to the Switch, and it kind of links into my Smash character prediction as well.
Snake's already in it.
Raiden from Metal Gear
as an Echo.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be an Echo or if he'd like. I can't imagine him being an Echo because you imagine sort of like using like a sword or whatever from like Metal Gear Rising or whatever. So I imagine he'd be a different character. I don't think it's a realistic prediction, but I kind of like the idea of getting a little bit more Metal Gear representation in there.
Maybe, yeah. I liked Metal Gear Rising, may I add, personally, and I've got a feeling most games in Smash are going to get two characters. I've got a feeling like most like franchises are going to get at least an Echo or get two. It's never just going to be one from one game. I think it's going to be more.
Yeah, I mean, if there's going to be an Echo, I mean, like Liquid Snake would
makes most
would fit
sense
in there as an Echo, I guess.
But there is a double whammy aspect of having Metal Gear Rising on the Switch, and then also the character. You know, I don't know if they've ever done it, but it feels like a natural thing to do, announcing a game and then going, oh, and also this character's also in Smash Brothers. Yeah, that's fair enough. Lee, what about your Smash Brothers character?
Mine also links into my third party, and because we've already seen some Smash Castlevania love, I thought, well, one of the finest games I played on the DS was the Order of Ecclesia, and I don't know if this would be an Echo fighter as well, because she is a little different from that kind of Simon Belmont character, but Shanoa, the rather beautifully dressed, long blue dressed female character from Order of Ecclesia. Like to see her?
There's zero chance of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, as far as Castlevania goes, I don't think she'd be one of the more well known ones, but you've got one of my favorite DS games was actually Dawn of Sorrow.
Yeah, great game.
And I think it has.
They're all great.
Is it Soma Cruz is his name? He actually appears in 2 games. He's in Aria of Sorrow on the Game Boy Advance as well. So I think maybe he would have more chance of getting in.
I just like the idea of a bit more female representation in Smash, you know? So I went with Shanoa.
Which makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I can't see any more Castlevania characters. I just don't think... You never know, but I can't see it. My Smash character, and Greg is going to hate this, that I think is going to be revealed tomorrow, is Steve from Minecraft. From Minecraft. I've got a feeling. I can see it.
Feeling you might be right there as well.
I personally, I think that would be a smart move, even though people go, it's only Minecraft. That will bring in another little audience. My son would probably play that character to death. It would be a rather smart move, I think, if they did.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. See.
Another slightly probably unlikely one that I would kind of like to see, maybe like with Streets of Rage 4 being revealed, I'd love to see like Axel.
Yeah.
Axel making it in.
Throw them all in as Echo fighters of each other. So.
Why not?
Exactly. So the next category, Lee, you can go first with this one. We're going to find out everything about online. And I did say an online surprise, and in my head it's like something nice, but an online surprise could easily be a negative surprise. So Lee, what is your online surprise?
I didn't have much for this, and going through it, it was rather negative, you know. It's voice chat is not going to be as functional as I would love it to be. It's going to be only through the app. It's going to be, it's pretty much what you expect, what I expect, what others expect, but I'm hoping it's not going to be. So it's only through the app. You won't be able to communicate in any other way with other players until you're actually in game. So you load up Splatoon, then you go into the app and it says, yes, you're playing Splatoon. Oh, Darren's playing Splatoon as well. Then we can connect through voice chat. There's not obviously what we all want is native in the Switch. Or at the worst case scenario, what we want is you can chat to set up games on the app. I don't think that's going to happen. Do not think.
I've got two things about this. One, I said online surprise. That would not be a surprise. Two,
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what's your prediction here? 'Cause-
yeah. Two,
yeah.
do you think at least loads more games are going to get added to it? Is Mario Kart going to get added to it? Is tennis going to get added to it? Are we going to be able to at least chat on other games? Obviously, the new games, but are we going to be retroactively? Can we chat on all online games,
Yeah.
or at least a lot?
Yes, we will. We'll have an icon like that Splatoon 2. Yes, we'll have an icon for all the arms for Mario Brothers,
Perfect.
Super Mario
Well,
Mario
not
Kart, whatever, Mario Maker. We'll have an
There you go.
icon for every first party game, and if we're lucky, we'll have an icon for some third party games as well, like Diablo 3.
Yeah, well, they've already said they've got a voice
Yeah.
chat, so that'll definitely be there. But there you go. That can be your prediction. That's more positive.
we could do
Thanks,
with
Darren.
we could do with one for Rocket League sometimes, Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's mine. Yeah, so that's that's fair enough. Greg, what's your online surprise?
I'm not sure if it's a surprise because I'm trying to think back to the wee graphic where they showed like they had everything boxed off what's coming to it really.
Mm-hmm.
Did they mention anything about exclusive discounts for eShop titles?
Yes,
Yeah,
they
they've
did,
confirmed
yeah.
that.
And the more you buy, you can accumulate discounts more and more.
So that's my prediction sort of out the window there. Maybe I'll go with you know the way for like things like ARMS and Splatoon they had like the test fires and whatnot. Maybe they'll tie that sort of thing into you can only do those if you're subscribed.
Okay, well, I doubt that won't happen because they want to entice people to play online. But also, they're not going to announce that tomorrow, are they? It's not going to be a prediction direct. What are you telling me? Well, in a few months, we're going to have a test fire for a game. Or Smash Brothers, I guess. Maybe is that it? Is it like to play Smash Brothers, the test fire for Smash Brothers is you'll have to pay for online, which would be bad, but is that what you think will happen?
I have no idea where I'm going with this.
But well,
This was the
Do you
hardest one to
think-
think of.
I thought it was easy. I thought of loads of stuff. I'm way more positive than you guys. Okay, so basically, Greg is saying you're going to have to pay for online to play the demo of Smash Brothers.
Or, well, yeah, there might be exclusive demos or something. I'll
We'll
go with
see.
that.
Okay, we'll go with that one. But mine is much simpler, much more positive. I think they're going to introduce a new mode for Splatoon tomorrow as part of... I think they're going to announce a load. I've got a feeling it's going to be a massive Splatoon splurge tomorrow.
I hope
And there's going to
so.
be loads of new levels, new gear, a final splurge. And I think they're going to announce a new mode to coincide with the launch of the online. And obviously you can only play it if you pay for online. And I'm hoping it's that football one that you mentioned ages ago, Lee. But
Yeah. 8 Ball it was called. Yeah.
yeah, but we'll see. But that's what I think. A new mode for Splatoon. Now the fun bit. So that's 3 predictions down. 2 predictions left. New games, new first-party games announced by Nintendo tomorrow. And when do you think they're going to come out? So my first one is a game by Next Level Games, who have been working on something for a long time. There's rumours that it's Luigi's Mansion, but I think with Luigi's Mansion coming out for 3DS, I don't think it's that. I am going to say they are going to announce Super Punch-Out Switch for next year. That'll probably be the last bit of thing we say. Super Punch-Out Switch is coming, and it's going to be announced tomorrow. I'd be very excited. Greg?
While I would love that, I'd much prefer if it was if Next Level were working on the next Mario Strikers instead. That's what I want them to be working on.
I agree. I've just got a feeling that Mario Golf is going to be the next sports game for next year.
I mean, Punch Out makes the most sense, and like they can use the Joy-Cons to like do the punch in the same way they did in the Wii version of it.
Yeah, I cannot use that then as well.
That's what I used to beat the whole thing. Loved it.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Punch Out
Hardcore.
Wii was so good. But yeah, I hope it's Mario Strikers too. But I'd be delighted with Punch Out. And a range of amiibo to go with it. Oh, can you just imagine how good the amiibo would be for Punch Out?
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
they'll probably
King
do it
Hippo
too niche,
Amiibo.
but-
Oh, so cool. With a removable manhole cover. Oh, cool.
Amazing. Greg, what's your first Nintendo game reveal?
Mine is probably as underwhelming as it could possibly get for me, and I haven't actually played any of these games, but a little Pool Blocks collection. There were several of those titles on the 3DS. There was Pool Blocks, Fall Blocks, and then I think the last one was called Pool Blocks World. I didn't play any of them. Don't even think I played the demo of.
They're very good games, but you are depressing.
I am.
It's like a chance to dream.
I tried to make it a more realistic of a prediction
That's
than saying something like F-Zero's coming.
Is it, Greg? Please.
Oh, I wish.
Okay,
yeah,
so what's... Oh, no, so I was going to say what's your next one, but not yet. So, I played them. I liked them, but that's not exciting. Lee, do you have anything far more exciting than Greg?
Well, I've got one really safe one and one outrageous one that will never come, but I'd love to see come anyway. It's a 3DS game.
Do your safe one.
No, I'm going to do my outrageous one first.
Oh, okay.
It's a 3DS game because they're still going to push the 3DS because they're still bringing out new SKUs. It's going to be a 2D Zelda game, top-down kind of, probably using the Link Between Worlds engine, but it's a branching story from the Breath of the Wild, and it's going to be called The Legend of Zelda: Death of the Wild. Ganon's back, and you know Ganon, he never learns. He's going to meet his downfall again, but this time it's darker, the grass has turned brown. It's I've been reading too much The Wheel of Time, and everything is dying in the world, and you've got to right wrongs.
So why do you think that's outrageous? I don't think a 2D Zelda game using the Link Between Worlds engine on the 3DS is that outrageous at all.
It seems like it would be overkill at this moment, unless they did a kind of Force Swords. I think they've done Zelda to death now on the 3DS, especially with the re-releases of Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time as well.
I hope you're right, but
I can't see another one coming out, but I would love one in the kind of, the kind of garb and the kind of weapons and the kind of elements that Breath of the Wild has, but bring it into 2D.
Would you love it though on the 3DS?
I think one of those games would actually get me to pick the 3DS up again, yeah.
Or dual release on both systems?
I would rather play it on Switch, but if they're going to release it with the Link Between Worlds engine, I can just see them like in, why isn't Luigi's Mansion coming? They could easily HD res that up for the Switch, but no, that's only on 3DS, So I would have a feeling if a 2D Zelda game came out, it'd be on the 3DS. I'm hoping to be wrong, though.
Yeah, I think the prospect of maybe like a newly designed game, like you say, Death of the Wild, is maybe slightly ambitious. I think they'd maybe go down the remake route a wee bit more, using the Link Between Worlds engine. They'd maybe either do like A Link to the Past or Link's Awakening, maybe remake it in that style.
Yeah, Link's Awakening would be nice to play through again in that style. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll see. But that wouldn't surprise me. I think you're closer than you think, actually. It's not that outrageous. Greg, your final game. Come on, give us something good. Come on, Greg, you can do it.
It would be good for me, not so good for you.
Crash 4.
We found out recently, like a few weeks ago, that Steep had been cancelled. So you can probably maybe guess where I'm going with this one here. They've cancelled it because they found out Nintendo's working on a new 1080. And they think, what's the point of us even bothering
I'm sure that's what they think,
Steep for the Switch?
Nintendo have given them the 1080 and say, hey, dress this up, make it a 1080 game, please, Ubisoft. You've done wonderful things with the Mario license. Let's see your wonders on the 1080 license, and let's get Darren loving 1080 for once.
Put Mario characters in, it would be a start, and make it arcadey.
Completely unrealistic, but I just want a new 1080. Let's do it.
Why do you think it's unrealistic?
We haven't had one for like what,
Avalanche,
15 years.
The only remotely good one.
Like not even sure if that Wii development studio's still there or like.
I've just got a feeling every franchise that we want is going to come to the Switch eventually. They're going to run out of games to produce. How many games have we got already?
I know, but it's like we had all those different franchises back at that time, and it's like they almost got to a point where, like, towards the GameCube into like the Wii era and stuff, like, all right, these are the games that sell well. We've got like our Animal Crossings and stuff and Fire Emblems. Let's focus on those, and we keep getting sequels for those games, and like all these games that we loved in the past, most of them are just been forgotten now. And like, even if they did bring them back, are they really going to sell that well? Probably not. So is it worth the risk doing that, or do they just go, right, here's Mario Kart 9?
Well, I think that, well, the Fire Emblem didn't sell that well, and it was only Awakenings which saved that franchise on the 3DS. So they do give franchises a chance. I think we're going to get them. I just think ultimately they're going to run. They can't just keep making Marios and Zeldas. They haven't got a handheld to kind of make two versions of all these games, and I just think at some point they're going to be like, well, we need to get some new kind of fresh blood in there, rather than just doing kind of iterations of another Mario, another Zelda, another Mario Kart and stuff like that. And they're going to resort to these little games. I'm telling you, you're going to get your 1080. We're going to get a Wave Race and our F-Zero and our Advance Wars. We're going to get a lot.
I'm smiling.
And Pilot Wings.
Pilot
Not
Wings,
tomorrow.
please.
Yeah, Pilot Wings. I think. Well, we might be getting that on Friday in the virtual lab kit,
Yeah.
but we'll see what it's like when we play it. But I don't know. I think you'll get a 1080. But maybe not tomorrow, but I think it'll come. I really do think we're gonna look back on the Switch and it's gonna be the most ridiculous console that we've ever had. But we'll see. So Lee, that was Greg's game. What is your safe game?
It's a boring one, but it's something I would love to see, and I'm sure many people would say this game needs to be shown. I'm amazed that it's not here already for the Switch's second Christmas. It's Animal Crossing. If they do show it tomorrow, I think it'll be coming out early 2019, kind of February, March, that kind of early spring, kind of, the flowers are blooming, let's get some Animal Crossing on the go. And this is where I go crazy. It's called Animal Crossing Switcheroo, and it it allows cross-dressing and gender swapping.
It's like a really kind of progressive, modern 2019 modern version of Animal Crossing. All goes.
Anything goes.
I was going to say that. Not at Switcheroo, but I was going to say Animal Crossing. Surely, we said this last year, but surely it is coming out. And I've always thought sort of next spring makes a lot of sense for that. And it could easily be tomorrow, and then they announce Isabelle as a Smash Brothers character as well. That could be a bit of a double whammy. But I didn't go with that. I went with, maybe predictably, maybe not, a game that's finished years ago. It's a game I want with a certain online component, but I'm expecting Pikmin 4 to be announced tomorrow for early next year. Please give me Pikmin 4. Please. I know I'm boring, but please give me online bingo battle. Please. That's all I want. I was thinking about it because I was thinking about it today. I was thinking, what would I prefer? Say Pikmin 4 with the greatest Pikmin adventure that there's been out of all of them, or just online bingo battle. And I think I'd probably go with online bingo battle and mission mode. But let's give us it all, Nintendo, please. I think Miyamoto and Bill Trinen love bingo battle. I think they think that is an incredible mode. I think they absolutely love that mode. I'm hoping they give it some love. I don't know how possible it'd be in online, but we'll see. But I think Pikmin 4. So 1080, Pikmin 4, Animal Crossing. Which one? None of them. I think we all know it's none of them, don't we?
They're just going to give a massive blowout on Fire Emblem Three Houses, do you think?
Yeah, I think in reality, we're going to learn more about Fire Emblem, Yoshi. I think New Super Mario Bros. U will be a thing. Yeah. I think Metroid Prime Trilogy is probably a thing, but they may wait for maybe Game Awards to announce that for early next year. But we'll see. I'm very excited, as always, with these things to see what we're going to be buying over the next 6 months. But that was awesome. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Thank you, as always, guys. And thank you for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nintendo Review Podcast. You can find this very podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, and YouTube. Just search for the Nintendo Review Podcast. Don't forget to give us a review and ask us a question. We are also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, where you'll find great content such as news, reviews, and streams. Of course, you'll find us at nintendoreview.co.uk. And check out our Nintendo Review Discord channel for lively discussion, meetups, and in-game voice chat. Drop by and say hello.